Here's what Google is doing to ensure you can't forget Pride Month. Google now adds Pride Month as a holiday on your calendar starting June 1st, and conservatives are having a fit. In an article for the Christian Post, conservative blogger and radio show host Dr. Michael Brown complains about Google's inclusion of Black History Month, Women's History Month, and other national and international observances. He goes on to complain how marginalized he is, writing, quote, "Although if you're white, every day is White American Shame Day, especially if you are guilty of being a white male," end quote. A major part of the LGBTQ plus rights movement is visibility, and we at Queer News Tonight thank Google for assisting with that. Also, we suggest you search the word pride on Google and click the rainbow heart for a special Easter egg. Also, if you use Google Sheets, type one letter from the word pride in each of the first 5 columns for another fun surprise.
Oh.
Go Google.
I'm going to play with my Google Sheets
God.
later and
That was so cool.
bunch of files. I'm going to make a whole new budget now. Just for that.
It's just shocking that we still have, these simple things that are just ways to just, give a nod to different organizations and Black History Month or whatever the observance is. And why does it offend somebody else?
It's not hurting anybody.
How is it hurting you?
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to observe Pride Month, or you're against it, it's how is it observing it hurting you?
It's offensive.
So fragile. So fragile.
It isn't.
It's because it's
a
celebrating
culture war
someone's
to
life.
gaslight, to change the subject. They don't have winning ideas.
Yes.
They just don't. And so as a result, in terms of talking about healthcare or inflation or what we're going to do about X or Y or Z, rent in Florida, instead of talking about those things, we're going to talk about these kind of things to infuriate you and misdirect you.
Distract,
Gaslighting.
of
So that's
course.
what gaslighting
Of course.
is.
Get you away from the issue.
And an interesting thing, before we move on to Sunshine and Flash News, an interesting thing here jumps out of this article of the observation. This is a Christian news article that is widely distributed today in Christian conservative media circles. I think it's very interesting because they talk about white shaming. They don't ask the question of, should we have white shaming? And should we accept the observations of white shaming? And I just remind us, it was white toxic men in America that created slavery and fought against civil rights, really, arguably, through the entire history of America. It is white toxic men that say women shouldn't have the right to vote, much less have the right to make healthcare decisions of their own body. That comes from white men. That's who is managing it. And one last thing that we're watching right now, we're getting ready to celebrate, memorialize, and remember the Pulse tragedy, what happened at the grocery store in Buffalo, what has just happened to the children in Uvalde, Texas. I read an article today, the last 1,000 mass shootings in America. When you look at the gender that committed those crimes, by the way, it's a perfect record. 1,000 of the 1,000 mass shootings are all men. All men. Women don't do this. And that's the issue here. So instead of picking up the stone and saying, oh, pitiful me, you should pick up a pulpit and say, how can we do better? And that's why your ridiculous observations on Google are so ridiculous, I think. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of